Chalk Talk is brought to you by Isolite, the emergency lighting experts. Stay educated, my friends.
Although it's July 26th, it still feels like Christmas in July for us at Isolite. Thanks for joining us today. As you all are aware, we have our topic here. We're introducing a new architectural emergency lighting fixture. I'm Western Regional Sales Manager Greg Keel, along with Eastern Regional Manager Matt Bird. And as always, our host is our Director of Product Development, Evan Ackman, who's been instrumental in getting this project and this product available to you all. We're excited that you're able to join us. Thank you. Evan, take it away.
Thanks, Greg. And I apologize if you guys couldn't hear the music. I think I had a little bit of a technical difficulty on my share. So you've missed your opportunity to hear Eye of the Tiger for the 36th time. So I will make sure that I remedy that for next month. As Greg said, we're actually going to be talking about a new product here today, the ELF. And we'll start with some background about sort of what it is. We'll just throw a picture up here. We'll talk a little bit about where this product fits in our lineup. And the question that we always ask when we're trying to do this is, why does this deserve to exist? Why this instead of something else? Where does it sort of, why does this make sense for us? And so then we'll talk about that. We'll then jump into the detailed specifications. We'll talk about the electronics of it. We'll talk about the mechanical aspect and the construction. We'll dig into the performance a little bit, and then we'll jump over to the sales and marketing information, the options and availability, what you can select, what you can't select, what's available now, what's going to be on a little bit longer lead time for a month or so. We'll talk about the documents that we're going to provide to you guys as a follow-up to this Chalk Talk. And then, as always, we'll throw up some information about how you can reach out to us to get more information on this or any of the other topics that you might be interested in. As always, it's a Chalk Talk. So if you guys have questions, please feel free to throw it in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll make sure that we don't get off this thing until all questions are answered. But with that said, let's jump right in. So this is the ELF, and the F there stands for flush. So this is a flush mounted architectural emergency light. And you can see there's some different trim ring options, both square and oval, so that it sort of matches different aesthetics. I will admit that Greg made the reference to Christmas in July, and I didn't realize until the other day that people were going to call this the ELF. So shame on me, but I've been calling it the ELF. So this is a ceiling mounted emergency light. And as I said, I really want to just talk about why and where this fits in our product lineup. When we're thinking about stuff like this, we think about it as kind of a continuum from, on the left side here, very functional and industrial products, all the way over to the right is sort of the most architectural stuff. So when you look at the left side of this drawing, you'll see the ELH. It's a metal lunchbox. It's very functional. It's industrial, sort of lots of options that sort of cover lots of different industrial use cases. That's kind of the most industrial area of our product line. If you look over to the right, you can see the E3 Mini. That's obviously going to be the most architectural. It's using the existing fixtures that are already there for architectural purposes. That's a box of batteries that goes back behind the scenes. It's as architectural as it gets. So those are sort of the extremes, but when you get into the middle, that's when it gets a little bit more interesting. Sort of starting back over on the left, as you start to move right into the more architectural stuff, you get something like the Bug. Yeah, it's still a standalone emergency light. It's smaller, it's a little bit nicer looking. It's a little bit more optimized for indoor space, and it sort of works our way up into the architectural land. Same thing with like the MIGN2. This is a concealed emergency light. It doesn't actually have a lot of wall acne associated with it. So, it's a much more architectural emergency light, but that really left this hole kind of in the middle. And there are a number of reasons why. For example, you want something that's maybe a little bit more subtle than the Bug, but maybe something that doesn't have moving parts or is at a little bit of a lower price point from the MIGN2. And that puts the ELF sort of square in the middle of the lineup. It's an architectural ceiling mounted fixture. It's flush, so it's not obvious when you're walking through a space, but it is a more traditional emergency light. It's also worth noting that most emergency lights tend to be wall-mounted devices, where the ELF is actually very purpose-built and is only supportive of a ceiling-mounted application. And so that's really sort of the why across these things. Sort of the ELF and the Bug they kind of fall into the same price point. The MIGN2 is going to be a little bit higher. When you go for dollars per watt, the E3 Mini is going to be a little bit less expensive, but it becomes a little bit of a different architecture. And so that's why this thing deserves to exist. And when people ask, well, where does this fit, or why did you do this? I mean, the simple reason is always that customers have asked for it. And there are certain products where, we're solving problems that, maybe that people don't know that they have, or it's sort of a better mousetrap. But this is a traditional emergency light. And there are applications where, for ease of design, ease of understanding, because an inspector doesn't like to see centralized battery and he wants to see dedicated emergency lights. There are applications where that traditional type of device is going to be important, but the architectural aspect of it is also important. There are also applications where, when going to an inverter-based system, maybe that poses some other complexities around the design. Maybe the architectural lights don't have the beam dispersion, or the lighting plan doesn't really support lighting up the egress path, such that you would require additional lights anyway. In those applications, you really need a purpose-built emergency light. And then, let's not mince words, there are a couple other products that would compete with this out there in the marketplace. And we know that when specifications hit the street, if we don't have something that really competes with a flush mounted ceiling fixture, then we're not even going to be able to take a bite at that apple. And so, in a sense, it's really just making sure that you guys have all of the arrows in your quiver that you can have, so that you can go out there and bid on and win jobs. And so that's really why we have done this product. Now, in terms of specifications, there's a couple words in here that we're just going to sort of highlight. We're going to highlight modern and flexible. And this really permeates product development right now. We're trying to be modern in terms of making it sort of easy and simple to install. We're using different battery chemistries than we have historically to make these devices smaller. And so, in terms of that, we've made it very simple to spec and design. It's 127 or 120 or 277 VAC. You don't have to know it at order time. It's universal input. It's got a lot of light in a small package. It's got 4 1-watt LEDs that are sort of offset so that it's optimized for giving nice long paths of illumination in an emergency. That modern lithium iron phosphate battery construction means it's a very efficient device. This is the afternoon session, so I suspect that we have a lot more of our friends from California on here. So this device does meet Title 20 requirements for efficiency because of that smart charger and that modern battery chemistry. It has other ratings that you would expect for indoor fixtures, so it's 10 to 50 degrees. It does carry a damp location listing, so in a covered space that may still be exposed to elements a little bit, you can still use this product in those applications. And as you'd expect from a modern emergency lighting fixture, it has self-diagnostics as an option on it. In terms of the mechanics, you've seen some pictures sort of throughout this presentation. Sometimes, like the one that you see right here, this device has a square trim on it. And then that initial shot that we showed on slide 1, there was an oval, a round trim option. All of that comes right in the box. And so depending on the aesthetic that you're after, you can just snap off that round trim and put on that square trim, and then it's going to match the aesthetic of all the other devices that you have on your ceiling. The LEDs on there actually angle for some installation flexibility. So you can actually get higher ceilings or wider beam paths depending on how you kind of fold those out. And as I mentioned, it's really compatible with ceiling installation. So that's true of drop ceilings and plasterboard ceilings. It actually can accommodate a fairly thick piece of plasterboard because of the way the hanger bars kind of float up and down, which you can sort of see on this picture here. So it's a very flexible ceiling-based installation. And because it's an indoor architectural product, we offer it in white or black. So it sort of matches those traditional finishes that you would expect to see. It really kind of matches our bug in terms of the finishes. In terms of the performance specification, really the key spec point here is 50-foot spacings at a 12-foot ceiling height. Those 4x1-watt LEDs have that adjustable angle. So, there's a lot of flexibility in sort of how you do that, but it's important to note that this is really a device that's designed to illuminate paths of light. It's not just sort of broadly illuminating a big square. It's designed to go between workspaces or in hallways, such that it's going to be illuminating a path of egress, not just a big general 200 by 200 foot area. It's very purpose built for these emergency applications. Now, in terms of options and availability, we're making this product generally available on August 1st. You'll see an announcement email go out probably exactly on the 1st. The webpage is live now. But as I mentioned, there's this kind of a very flexible device in that there's not a lot of options. All this stuff is built in. So it's always 4-watt LEDs. It's always a recessed mount. It's worth noting that at this time, we're not going to offer the pre-shipped version of the back box because we box it all up and then we stock it. So we can't necessarily just pull that all apart. That's something that we're investigating if it's going to be important to you guys. White housing or black housing is an option. Keep in mind, the black housing right now is going to have a little bit of a longer lead time at launch, probably about 6 to 8 weeks, depending on when you order it. We expect that to sort of collapse down pretty quickly as we get into sort of the September, October timeframe. Just from a sort of an initial run standpoint, we focused on the white. Same thing is true of self-diagnostics. The product without self-diagnostics available August 1st. There's going to be a little bit of a longer lead time to get the self-diagnostics, was because we really focused on that base model number. In terms of the launch kit that you will see, if you go to our webpage right now, you're going to find the spec sheet up and available, and maybe the IES file that should be going up today. The media kit is also going to be something that we're going to send out as a part of the launch kit. And then 2 agents, we're going to send out the sort of a 1-page price book addendum. The one thing that I will note right now is if you go look at the specification sheet, or maybe just even at this set of documents available, one thing that you'll notice is traditionally we would have a more sort of verbose spacing chart that covers egress path width versus mounting height versus configuration. That sort of says, here's what your spacing is going to be in all of these different configurations. We're still working on that. We just got our IES files finalized the other day, and the engineer who's capable of generating those tables for us is on vacation. So it's our priority. We're going to update the cut sheet really within the next week or two with those same spacing tables. So right now you can have the IES file. So if you've got a design that you're trying to evaluate this product for, the IES file is going to give you everything you need. If you need those spacing tables, just give us a couple extra days and we'll get those things published. And as I mentioned, we're going to send that all out as both a follow-up to this Chalk Talk and also as a dedicated launch email, which is going to go out on August 1st. In addition to those items, as a follow-up to this, you will of course get the video presentation, although I guess this is sort of more of an audio presentation this time of me giving this, as well as the slides so that you can give this presentation or go and reference it for just for reference, or so that you can give it yourself. All the documents will be there, as well as the price book page. So look forward to that really coming up in the next week. With that said, I'm Evan. Greg and Matt are on the line. We certainly appreciate everything that you guys do for us. So anything that we can do to support you, we're certainly in for. If you want to talk about this ELF or anything else that we do, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. We're happy to get on a Zoom call or on a plane and talk about any of that stuff. With that said, I'll open up the floor for questions now. If you don't have any questions, please enjoy the rest of your day and your week, and I guess the rest of your summer, because the next time we'll talk will be the end of August. Have a great day, and thank you all.